In this video, we're going to talk about how to make the adventure notebook. It's a fairly simple project if you've done other Steamy Tech projects, but we're going to walk through all of the pieces and parts needed to make this really cool notebook. So grab your adventure notebook kit pieces and join me. Before we build it, let's take a look at the pieces and parts in your adventure notebook kit. So I'm going to start with opening the bag. In your kit, you're going to find a stack that looks like this. This is the front, the back of the front, and the back. You'll also have a hardware bag, a bag with 2 rings in it that we can put aside for now, and your 4 gears, 5 gears. So here's how those gears are going to go on your binder. This one's going to go just in the middle like so. And then we're going to put these 4 around the outside edges. Now, you might think it's a trick, but it's not. I made them all at 90 degrees to each other. So assuming the holes are lined up and you're lined up on the holes, they will all line up together. So when we assemble it, we're going to be a little careful and get all of those so the paths line up. And then the nice thing is every time you rotate around, they'll still be lined up. Everything will still be perfect. All will be well. So these 4 gears really are all identical. Shouldn't be a problem at all to put together. So you can decide if you want to decorate each of the gears differently, though. Keep that in mind. Decide where you want to put them. And then make sure you at least sand the front of the notebook and the back of the gears. We're going to glue these 2 layers together when we're done. Like so. And so those 2 will go together like that with the pretty sides out on both sides. This will be our back. So you probably want to do some additional sanding just to make it nice and smooth to the touch. And when you are done decorating, come back, watch the rest of the video, and I'll show you how it gets put together. All right, now that you've got your pieces decorated, let's get started. We can leave these 2 aside for the minute, but I am going to open my hardware kit. And we should have 5 3/8" screws and 5 nuts. And we're going to start with putting the middle gear in. So we simply just need to drop it in here. Now you'll notice that it's a loose hole. So what we're going to do, and we're going to put nuts on these as we go, is I'm just going to put a little drop of glue on the end here. You don't want to put very much on, and you don't want to let it slide back to the inside. But I'm just going to put 1 little drop of glue there. And I'm going to put that nut on loosely enough so that there's a little air gap between the nut and the back of the wood, and to make sure that still spins loosely once I've done that. And it won't take very long for the glue to dry at all. And then you can decide, are you going to start at the top or the bottom? And I'm going to start at the top. And I'm just going to put my first gear in. It really doesn't matter what angle this goes in at, but I want to make sure everything stays aligned. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And again, I'm going to put my drop of glue on the back. Teeny tiny drop of glue. Put my nut on here. Make that go spinny, spinny down so it's got a little bit of space, and I can spin all I want. And so now my gear is lined up, and I've got my path here. So now I'm ready to work on the second piece of my path. So I'm going to take a screw again. But this time, I got to be a little careful. So I'm going to line the screw hole up. But I want to make sure that those 2 path pieces intersect. And you can see right now they don't. If I move over 1 tooth, though, everything's lined up perfectly. And you can imagine that you've got an arrow in between here. By the way, when you decorated it, did you add the rest of the path, or did you leave it blank? I couldn't figure out what people were going to do. I toyed with adding it, but I didn't want to control your destiny. And again, a drop of glue, putting on the nut, leaving a little bit of space there, making sure it spins and spins and spins. And you'll notice that everything is lined up fine. I'm ready for gear number 3. So we're going to take our screw again, find that hole, drop it in, see if I'm happier with it there or there. No, it's much better back here. And those two are lined up properly again. I'm all lined up on my path, so I can put my drop of glue on the back. If your nut gets too tight, that's what will happen. And that's one of the reasons you want to make sure you're testing as you go. Make sure everything stays loose and make sure that you're holding it this way. So if you got too much glue on it, it doesn't wick up into the hole and stop things from spinning. And make sure all the screws are still loose enough before you go on. Now, I'm ready for the last one. So, one more screw. I know this one wants to align there. Let's make sure those line up perfectly, and they do. And I'm ready to put my final drop of glue on a screw. Put my final nut in. And that's all the pieces that are needed for my gear assembly. Again, I'm going to make sure this stays loose for a moment by spinning it. Make sure everything's good. And now I'm going to glue these two pieces together. So this was designed to give you a way to make the screws captive. So when you use your notebook, it's flat and you can actually write on the inside. So I can go ahead and put glue here, and I'm going to run it all the way around the outside, just a little bit inside from the edge, and I'm also going to put some all the way around here. Make sure this gets good and gluey. 1/8" wood does have a tendency to be a little bit goopy, and the wood gets a little bit warpy, and since we don't want warp, you're going to want to make sure those are lined up. The screws are nice to help with alignment, but you're also going to want to do some things as you screw it together to make sure the edges are nice and straight. I'm still spinning nicely. And now I'm ready to put my paper in and put my rings on. So I can open my paper up. You can get more of this paper easily on Amazon. I'll put a link to this particular set of paper in the notes on this video. And I've got 2 binder rings. So I'm going to go ahead and put those 2 rings through here. Easy enough to open and close. You've got your notebook if you want to. And you're going to tie your art supply from your box to your notebook. You can even do that. And now you've got a nice way to keep that pen solidly with your adventure notebook. Thank you.